live and build capacity for this to carry the cause. Then I can reorganize myself based on context. Yes. COVID has come, I rearrange the house to fit so that we still continue kusonga mbele. Because the context doesn't really determine, it's the content that we're going to play. Yeah, so that's the...
Wow. Well, while you're joining us for the family talk show from anywhere across the world, you need to know that what these guys are saying here, it's a universal language to everyone. Doesn't matter whether you're Queen of England, whether you're the President of the United States, whether you're the President of Uganda or of Kenya, whatever. Welcome to the Family Talk. My name is Eddie Okela this week, and of course, picking from the conversation of discussion of male to man, when does a man become a male, when does a male become a man? It's such a confusing statement, so to start with. But the family is defined by a man and a woman, not the other way around as some people try to say it. And of course, the discussion on the show today is we're in the lockdown, at least in Uganda. And of course, I know some other countries are also in the lockdown. But how are the families doing in the lockdown? How is the mother and the father relating during this lockdown? Some people got married 15 years down the road. They have never been together. They've never stayed together at home. And until coronavirus came in 2020, and they were locked at home. I know so many men who couldn't stay. They said, they're talking too much in my ears. I'm not used to this. And they will go away. And I know some ladies are saying, you are so much in my space, just give me some space. And that struggle has been on. We're back at it again. And perhaps it's going to go on for some time. That's the discussion on the Family Talk Show today. The healthy relationships in our families. How do we pick it? Where do we start from? To discuss this topic this week, two gentlemen who are known for, I don't know which English word I can use to describe them, as people who are very passionately about family. You know, of course, the resident panelist, Pastor Joshua Martin Mugabi, who can hold the show alone for hours when we're not here, talking family. And joining us for the first time is the one and only Richard Kawesa, Mr. Uganda, as known to you, and of course the father of three, who one time told me he didn't know he was raising girls. In his mind, he was raising boys. Then he took it. Was it boys, girls? What was the conversation?
I'll tell you.
Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And the Family Talk Show exists to, give us a platform to discuss issues that happen in our families, sharing ideas that can make our families better. You know, a lot of things happen in families, and people don't know that if the family is not fixed and there's no leadership in the family, there will be no leadership in the society, and there will be no organization in the country, and the nation will never be the same. So today's discussion is, we're in the lockdown, And how do we maintain a healthy relationship in our families? First of all, to you, Richard, what is a family?
I think number one, a family is an institution. When I say an institution, is that it has a mandate, you know, to fulfill. Family has to have a purpose. I don't see family as man and woman. I see it fundamentally as two people that God gave the ability to produce children, so it has to be seed and soil. That then whatever comes out of that, there has to be caretaking. So I see the ones who created being responsible for raising that and taking care of that.
Yes.
Now that cannot be a single day thing. It has to be a commitment to making sure that that becomes the best it can become, especially when you know that our family is about, for example, if we are Bijanjalo, therefore we know we are raising Chijanjalo. If we are Muvule,
yes,
we shouldn't expect
to raise
eucalyptus.
Yes.
So it's very important for your family to have an identity,
yes,
which I have called vision.
Yeah.
Now, in the absence of that, if you just have a female and a male together producing kids, I wouldn't define that as family. Yes.
Okay. Very interesting perspective. Yes, Pastor Mugabi, I know you live and speak and dream and drink family all your life. I mean, personally, I'm a product of you. What is your definition of a family, first of all?
Well, I like the fact that he mentioned is an institution, and I want to add on a God-established institution, because again, we live in the day and time that science wants to redefine these institutions.
Yes.
Politicians want to redefine that, lawyers, but it's a God-established institution. But learning from my children when they are preparing for PLE, they defined family as an intimate relationship or a group of people who are connected to one another by blood or by law. All right? And I think this, connected by marriage, by blood and by law. I think those are, I didn't sit for the exam, so I don't have to recite it that way. But what I really like is the intimacy, the closeness, and I know some people keep saying blood is thicker than water. And so we begin that way. So, and there's that natural bond between a father and the children. And for the first and highest bond is supposed to be husband and wife. But that's why we want to talk about healthy relationships, is because sometimes men overlook the mothers to get to the children. And sometimes mothers sell out to the men to keep the children and causes total chaos. And sometimes children and for a nuisance in the family. They don't see that connection. So we want to see family as that which God has established. And like he said, man was placed in a garden to give oversight to it, is to fill the earth with the children that know the original purpose, to tend the earth. And when I tell people how we can handle this, the difference between tending that the Bible talks about is the difference you see, the gardening in Katanga and the gardening at Serena. In Serena, you see they choose the flowers, they buy the thing, whatever.
They are deliberate.
Yes.
They're deliberate, yes.
In Katanga, where the jackfruit seed failed, is that's where it will grow.
Wow.
Yes, so the family has that institutional aspect. But I also need to say that it's foundational in that it changes a lot. Like you said, it impacts our society. Is when families are okay, there's going to be an okay situation. If families are not in order, there's going to be disorder. I was listening to a gentleman who I said, you know, even in this lockdown, when they lock us down, you go back to your family.
Yes.
At home. All right?
Yes.
When schools are closed,
Yes.
you don't go to the dormitory, you
Yes.
go
Yes.
back to your
Yes.
family. When you die,
Yes.
you don't, well, some people try and throw in the cemetery.
Yes.
But at least the first initial is back to family. So
Yeah.
family members who are allowed to go and bury. And right now, of course, the national political discussion is,
Yeah.
should a family member take on the mission and the vision of their father,
Yeah,
or we should use democracy?
Okay.
And so family is important.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, given that context, we want to welcome some people to the show from all across the world. The family has been defined by Richard Kawesa here, Mr. and of course the Pastor and Mr. Joshua Martin Mugabi, who is a resident panelist. We want to know from you, what is your typical definition of a family? You, from that family, what is your definition of a family? And we will take a break, and when we come back, this gentleman will dive into this discussion. Of course, the picking of a father of only girls and a father of only boys gives you, or will give you, a different context on how you can have a healthy relationship in your family. Stay right there. We'll be right back after this.
People at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince.
Welcome back from that break. This is the Family Talk Show. My name is Eddie Okela, and in the studio is Richard Kawesa, a musician as well as a creative mind, critical thinker, change management coach. Is a man of many characters, but above all, is the father of 3, if I'm not mistaken. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And of course, Pastor Joshua Martin Mugabi is a resident panelist. You all know him. I'm not going to say much. He can run the show. When everybody is not coming, he'll walk from his house to run the show. He has done it before. That's how much he loves the family. Gentlemen, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
I just want to take you straight to something that we always take for granted. When we were looking at the choice of somebody to join us today on the show, you came in very handy, Richard. Reason being, love your family so much that you say, when I am back home, from this hour to this hour, you won't find me. And you said, I am very deliberate about raising my family. Why are you so deliberate about doing this? Yet, many men are not quite very deliberate about it. Or even women, for that matter.
I feel, or I think I know, that every institution must have a cause. You cannot create anything without purpose, without something that you feel based on objective, on an outcome. This is the best model to organize society. So as Pastor Joshua was saying, that it's established by God as an institution, we must then go to that God and ask him, what did you have in mind? When you created this order, what were you trying to achieve? If we don't ask him, we will end up thinking that our definition of it or the purpose of it is actually what it is for him. So when I went back to asking, I discovered that continuity is very key for God. So that's when everything he did, especially seed, he made sure every seed produces its kind. So that when time of death, one goes, there is a rebirth in death. So the story and the line and the genealogy and the story is kept through this. So the only way I am here today is because the story of my father was kept by the story of my grandfather and my grandfather. So in that line, I can look out for our role. I can look out for what defines us. So when I look at family and the importance of it, I realize that I am on borrowed time. And the only way I'm going to live is through these ones. Yes. So I have to, it's only natural that I'm selfish enough to understand that how can I build capacity for those inheriting the cause to actually carry the cause forward. And Pastor, I'll go back to a gentleman in the Bible called Eli. Yeah. And what was his name? The other one, Samuel.
Samuel. Yeah.
Yes. Samuel wasn't called to the ministry or to the cause for Eli's family. Yeah. It was the priests. Samuel wasn't of priest. But when the responsibility that Eli had to raise priests failed, and he raised prostitutes instead, they defiled the cause for which their family established. So when God is speaking to Eli, he first reminds him and say, your fathers, he's raising that you are betraying history. Yeah. You're betraying continuity. Instead of carrying forward the vision, you are becoming a roadblock. Yeah. Now they had to fix and graft a man who wasn't called to that. Very powerful. So what was it that God was following? Not only the blood aspect. Yeah. He was following the vision that he spoke into priesthood. Yeah. And therefore, when God calls you as a man, he gives you a vision. Yeah. And when he gives you a vision, it's important that you raise caretakers of that vision to whatever generations must come. Wow. And I think that's the role of the man in a family. Yes. And that's the importance of family to God.
Wow. Pastor.
Yes.
I wish you a good ride on this one. I want to dive to you. You've heard what Richard has said. I'm enjoying his depth of thoughts and how he derive his thoughts from that I am dead, but I have to live in these people who I leave behind because I have a very short time that if I don't do this deliberately, I will never exist again. In fact, I will be wife. Nobody will remember me for anything good. Yeah. That said, Pastor, you are a father of boys only. Yeah. And it's always not very easy to you know, we don't hear a lot of perspective from families that are boys. Of course, you have a girl in the house being their mother,
Yes.
and we don't know whether she's mistreated because she's the only female in the house. Tell us something. What is your ideal sort of like why you are very deliberate about your family?
Yeah. I mean, he's mentioned that it's more than the blood.
Yeah.
And there's a place for legacy. And I know sometimes we look for what are we going to be remembered for, but there's a higher cause. The world doesn't need to remember you. I mean, that sounds sad, but the world doesn't need to.
Yeah.
But the world needs to know its creator.
Yeah.
And God who established family gave it a purpose. And we must pursue that purpose. Why am I intentional? I would say two, three reasons. One, I've tested the pain of failure, which is, growing away from what I'll call the right atmosphere, right soil for family, father, mother, then children. You know the disturbance that comes with growing away from your father. Your mother is hustling alone to raise you up. I've seen that. But I also know I'm intentional that I'll have to give account to God for the gifts He's given, because my children are a gift from God. So I need to steward that. And maybe the third point is the true measure of success is not whether I'll be driving the Apple car in 2022.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It will not be how much money I've accumulated, but how have I lived according to the purpose for which God created me? And part of the unfolding of that purpose has to do with the wife is given me, the children is given me, and my talents, plus the gospel, the good news that He has given me.
Yes.
So if I'm unfaithful in the gospel, I'm unfaithful to my wife, I'm unfaithful to my children, I am unfaithful to God, and I am creating chaos in this world.
Wow.
And as you think today about families, you find that the underlying problem is not whether they have land or not, whether they have money or not, whether they can access